So I'm going to show you guys some more Sadaharu O's I got in. It's kind of one of my main things now, just stacking O's. So let's get into it. First up, I've got a couple of really big ones actually. So I've been collecting, or I'm kind of starting as my 73 Batback run kind of runs down. I only need 4 cards out of 91 for that run, but the 4 that I need are very rare, and so I probably won't get them for a while. But it's still the whole run's running down, so I'm kind of, in terms of like Calbee, I'm kind of like going into other things. One of them is the 74's. I'm collecting the first run or the first series, first block of Calbee 74. And I've got actually Sadaharu O is the first few cards in that series. I got here number 3. Just a really nice card. So all of these block 173, sorry, 74 Calbees, they are the Pennant Race series. And I check that gloss out, man. This card's just a beaut. I did pay a not insubstantial amount of money for this card. I think it was about 45 bucks. These block 174s are kind of pricey. And particularly the first few cards. So this is number 3, 1974, number 3. And it's also in really, really nice condition. I mean, check that gloss out, man. That's nuts. And the back is nice and clean. So happy to have this one. Great card. One of the more sought after Sadaharu O cards. The first few cards in 74 are O. So this is a nice low number. And I also got number 5, which is also O. And this one is also in great condition. Check that out. Man, look at that gloss. It does have a crease up there, as you can see. But just a great card in great condition. And I got another 74 here. This is from the ON series, which was commemorating Sadaharu O and Shigeo Nagashima in various ways. Of course, 74 was Nagashima's last year. Here they both are. O coming around after a home run. Another nice clean one. Whoa, dropping shit. Whoops, stuff. Sorry. I try to keep this channel PG-13 at least. I guess, I don't know. I guess cursing's PG-13. So here's another one. Now we're jumping ahead a bit. This one is, I think, 77. Another really nice one. Good condition with nice, still has that gloss on it. And really nice edges and corners. And we've got a few more. These are from the epic, I guess you could say 75 to 77 Calbee set. Really, really a massive set with around 1,500 cards. Another nice O. And all of these are fortunately in really nice condition. I usually just pick up O's regardless of the condition, but these are all pretty nice. So the ones I've gotten in recently. So here's another mid 70's. Really nice image on this one. I really like this one. This is a series, a collection commemorating 700 home runs. I also have this one. This is O and Hopkins, a foreign player in NPB. Hopkins, presumably an American. I probably should have researched him a little bit more before this video. But anywho. Okay, so now actually, why don't we do a couple more 74s? And these 74s are not O. But here's another one for my Block 1 or Series 1 pennant race collection, number 53. And this is one of my favorite Japanese players, Katsuya Nomura, who I like to call the greatest player you've never heard of. Nomura was a catcher for the Nankai Hawks. He hit over 600 home runs. He's second all time in home runs in Japanese baseball and second all time in hits. So that's second after Sadaharu O and second after the next guy I'm going to show, Isao Harimoto, for hits. Truly a great player. And like I said, the greatest player you've never heard of, Katsuya Nomura. So this is cool for my 74 Pennant Race Series 1 run. And as I said, this is Nomura. Harimoto, not Nomura. And this one, so I've been fortunate, most of the cards in this that I've acquired recently, these are all just in excellent condition with that gloss and the corners and edges. But what's cool about this one particularly is that it shows Harimoto in a fighter's uniform. So Harimoto played Isao Harimoto, the all-time leader in hits in Japanese baseball. He played mostly for the fighters during his career. He made a late career jump to the Giants and played with O for a few years. But there aren't too many cards of him in a fighter's uniform. I think there are probably more cards of him in a Giants uniform, despite the fact that he did not play for the Giants for the majority of his career. But this one shows him in a fighter's uniform in mid-swing. It's a great card, 74, number 211. And I believe Harimoto switched to the Giants in 75. So this would be his last year as a fighter. And then finally, we've got another nice 74. This is number 173. And this is Yutaka Inatsu, who is definitely one of the great pitchers, but he led a fairly, how can I say, less than exemplary life off the field. He was involved in Japan's Black Mist scandal, which was a game-fixing scandal, and he also had a drug bust, despite being a highly accomplished pitcher and one of the greatest strikeout pitchers in Japanese history. He is not in the Hall of Fame because of that, but this is a nice card of Inatsu playing for the Tigers. Okay, so then finally we're going to go to the 80s. We'll jump ahead a little bit to the 80s. I wanted to show you guys a couple cool and pretty scarce cards, Calbee cards from the 80s. So this one is a 1983 title holder of Koichi Tabuchi. Koichi Tabuchi is probably the second greatest catcher in Japanese baseball history. Probably so the second greatest Japanese catcher of all time after Katsuya Nomura. Tabuchi has over 400 home runs as a catcher. He is a Hall of Famer, although I will say that I think he kind of was inducted into the. He was only inducted into the Hall recently, which is a little surprising to me. But he is a Hall of Famer. But Tabuchi is more well known, of course, for his time with the Tigers, the Hanshin Tigers. He spent most of his career as a Tiger, and he's actually one of about, I would say, 4 players to be given the nickname Mr. Tiger. Despite that, actually, Tabuchi was traded to the Seibu Lions in Saitama toward the end of his career. This was a pretty I mean to say unconventional, not controversial. A highly unconventional move. A player of Tabuchi's caliber, particularly in the era that he played, to be traded to another team was pretty unusual. But he was, and so he played out the last few years of his career with the Seibu Lions. And in fact, actually, Tabuchi managed to win a couple Japan Series titles with the Lions, which he did not achieve with the Tigers. So this card is actually pretty scarce. These gold-bordered title holder cards from the 80's, this is an 83 card. And most of the years that Calbee did these gold-bordered title holder cards in the 80's, these were generally short printed. The only exception is 1987. So in 1987, the title holder gold bordered cards were just printed like a normal card. So they're no more common or rare than any other card in the set. For example, here is a 1987 Randy Bass with the gold border. And this card is not a short printed card, although, relatively speaking, this is certainly not a common card that you can just go out and find if you want to, right? Such as the nature of Calbees in general from this period. But it was not short printed, so it's more available than the Tabuchi, right? From another year. So Calbee did these gold bordered title holder cards with a trophy, They didn't do it every year in the 80's, but the only year that the cards were not short printed was in 87. So if you dig like I did, so I dug through a box of 80's, some various boxes of 80's Calbees at my LCS, and I was looking for gold bordered title holder cards that were not 87, so the short printed ones. And I managed to find the Tabuchi. But chances are, if you do the same, 95 or more % of the time, if you find a gold bordered 80's Calbee card, it's going to be 87. So actually, I should kind of wind back here. I was reading a post by our friend Sean. Sean is a Japanese baseball card collector who lives in Japan like me. He's not on YouTube, but he does have a great blog and a very long-running blog that I will link in the description so you can check it out as well. And I was reading one of his posts on these gold bordered Calbee cards from the 80s and learning about them. And so then after I read Sean's post, I was like, I gotta see if I can find a non 87 gold bordered Calbee card. So I went to my LCS, and sure enough, I did find the Tabuchi from 83, which is awesome. So this is a pretty scarce card. You're just not going to come across this very often. So happy to pick that up. And yeah. So then I have another pretty scarce 80s Calbee. This is from 1984. This is from one of the short printed series in 84. And this is Osamu Higashio, who is a Hall of Fame pitcher for the Cebu Lions. And Higashio, as I said, he is a Hall of Famer. I would say his numbers are not mind blowing. They're fairly mortal, but he did win a bunch of championships with the Lions. The Lions had a dynasty in the 80s. They won several Japan Series championships throughout the 80s, and Higashio was involved in those. So he definitely racked up the championships, and he was overall a very good pitcher. So this is 84 All-Star card from one of the short printed series. I really like 84 because it kind of, most of the Calbees from the 70s and 80s, of course, are just the borderless, just a photo with maybe a little bit of like team or name information on there. But in 84, they did this design a little bit reminiscent of the 81 tops. And I really like these cards. So this is a pretty scarce card from 84 Calbee. Alright, so as always, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.